Hey everyone, it's your boy, Ariel, your host. As you may have realized, we tend to release episodes on a somewhat monthly basis, which sort of presents a problem because, we still want to get our Swifty goodness out there to the world. That's why I'm introducing this side series, Swifty Quickies. Think of them as maybe little 15-minute minisodes in which we talk about more topical stuff like TV shows and whatnot, just to keep your taste buds tingling as you're awaiting the next episode. So on that note, let's begin. All right, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That is an MCU show, I should say, that is on Disney Plus. This time around, Sinda and I have both watched it. I'm not sure about Rob, but this is what you get right now.
So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
15 seconds to drop. So what's our plan? Hey. Great.
All right, so for those who don't know, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a show on Disney Plus. It's a Marvel thing, so part of the MCU.
It's part of the Phase 4, just to be specific.
Yes, most definitely. Spoilers alert. This is a spoilers conversation. During Infinity War and Endgame, Thanos wiped out half the universe with a snap of his fingers. Now, after 5 years, those people came back when the Avengers saved the day, but that caused a lot of people to be displaced. Sort of like a MCU version of a refugee problem. During the movies, people will normally call it the snap, but then people really started to refer to it as the blip.
The blip.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Why did they call it? They could have picked a more menacing name than the blip, That just sounds so light and fluffy. Oh, it's a blip, People just disappeared for 5 years and then came back. A blip.
So I actually do have an answer to why they call it.
Yes. Let me hear it.
The people, really the people that were there knew the things happened because the dude snapped his fingers, Thanos. So if you weren't there, you wouldn't know it was a snap, technically.
I see.
So people started calling it the blip and then that's the name that the civilians started calling it.
Yeah, because they died 1 second, and then in their mind, another second later, they're just reborn, reanimated, I guess.
So on top of dealing with that refugee problem, at the end of Endgame, Captain America gives up his shield and gives it to the Falcon, Sam Wilson.
Yes.
Yes, so he has to deal with him, whether he could actually accept the shield, and then we also deal with the Winter Soldier, the other person in the title, who is suffering from some PTSD, also with racial inequality in America. So, very light stuff here for a comic book show.
Yeah, right? Just great for Disney Plus and your children. It seems good, like, oh, it's Disney, it's Marvel, but yeah, they're taking some dark turns. But it's nice to see a variety of shows out there from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, It's always been just like only action or maybe a little comedy thrown in, but mainly just like explosions. Just goddamn Michael Bay. Just explosions everywhere. That's what it was like for basically...
and a whole lot of CGI.
Yeah, from 2008 until it was 2019. It was just, that's what we knew them as. So I like how, I don't know who got the idea to make spin-off series, but it's a great idea because you can really dig into a character and give them the time they need.
Exactly.
But I feel like, they did a really good job of that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But to your point in the beginning, yes, he wanted to give the shield to Sam Wilson at the end of Endgame, and Sam was like, I'm not ready yet. He is so humble. Just a humble man.
Quite right. And that humbleness sort of bit him in the ass because in the show, there is a Captain America that comes up to replace the Captain America we all know and love.
Oh, yeah.
And he was issued by the government. So instead of being this beacon of freedom and hope, he was more of a government lapdog. So he had his brand was more freedom asterisk. Terms and conditions may apply.
Yes, that's the vibe you get from this guy. He's trying to be the next Captain America, but he knows it's a losing game. Like, you can't compete with the super soldier serum, so you'll never be as good. But yeah, that actually comes up in the series.
Another theme that does come up under all these rather heavy subject matters is the subject of being a black Captain America. Would people actually accept that? And it's revealed throughout the show that there were past Captain Americas. So part of the lore is that the original Captain America, his super soldier serum was the perfected one, but the lab basically blew up. After he got frozen in ice after World War II, that's when they were trying to recreate it, and they started using African American soldiers as guinea pigs. They perfected it once on this particular super soldier, Isaiah Bradley, but unfortunately, after serving, I think, in the Korean War, is that he helped out. America was still not as accepting in those days, so they imprisoned him. They kept sampling him, and they sort of put him in a ghetto.
Well, yeah, they didn't want to idolize him because, God, the country and racial tensions are like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting is they didn't just make that story for the show. That was actually from the comic books. Like,
yeah.
Straight out of the comic books. There was Isaiah Bradley, and the Falcon becomes the next Captain America. But yeah, he doesn't know if he's accepted. And even in the comic books, they don't accept him. So there's racism alive and well back then.
A tad. Racism was a tad alive.
But yeah, just a little.
A dash, if you will. That pretty much covers everything about the show. There are those plot threads that we mentioned, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier accepting to work with each other. They're sort of like they butt heads a lot. There's some genuine funny moments. I would say the relationship between them is very buddy cop like, and the mental state of the new Captain America just go downhill throughout this show. But overall, there's a lot of action in this, and a lot of hand to hand. It's not so much explosions. Well, there are explosions.
Oh yeah.
But not so much like wizardry and Iron Man type of stuff. For example, I saw in one of the episodes, one of the characters throws a metal pipe through a dude's heart.
Oh yeah, that was insane. And yeah, the villains in the show are kind of interesting. They're almost like mutants, but they don't want to say mutant. You know what I mean? They're just like enhanced people. But when are you gonna cross over, Marvel? Bring the mutants. Because, yeah, it's all the same.
Not necessarily. Now, nerd moment here, as opposed to any other fucking moments we just had.
Actually...
Well, actually, a mutant is a person with the X gene that displays at birth their powers, or actually probably even a little bit more after birth. I think they have a latent X gene. The enhanced humans, they're literally just regular people, and as far as we could tell on the show, all they can do is like punch really hard, run really fast, and jump really high.
Really, really high.
Yeah.
And they adapted that part from the comic books. I mean, Flag Smasher was originally one dude, and then in the show it's a group of people.
Ah, shit. I didn't know that.
We don't want to give too much away in case someone hasn't seen this, but it's a good one.
Yes. I guess let's wrap up our thoughts. What are your pros and cons, man?
Ooh. The pros are the action scenes and kind of the darker, deeper meaning behind like Sam's backstory, and also he's dealing with the downside of coming back after being gone for so long. It was almost like he was comparing it to someone being in prison for 5 years and then coming back, and someone going to the bank and saying, "Oh, could I get a loan?" But they're like, "You have no employment history for the last 5 years." So they almost wanted to show how that is also a real thing that happens in everyday life. People get denied. So that's the pro, though, is showing that side. But the con, I would say, is compared to the other shows, the plot is not as deep. It's more surface level, dealing with them, and you have like you know who the villain is in like the second episode or the first episode. There's not
exactly a riveting mystery like WandaVision.
Yes. Or Loki, you're like, who the F is like going around and murdering these people? Everyone, like, so far, each one has been kind of mysterious. It's even What If, you're like, oh.
It's more, there's a lot of elements of espionage movies in this.
Yes.
And yeah, so the story is very, very grounded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Yes. I like it, though. And then Zemo comes back, does that little dance move.
Yes, the meme.
I don't even know.
For the audience, one of the villains, this is not a spoiler, it was even in the...
Baron Zemo.
Yes, he was a villain in Civil War, and he was also in the promos as to coming back. Very serious character, but with a lot of surprisingly comedic scenes.
Yeah.
I told him about Trouble Man. He wrote it in that book. Did you hear it? What'd you think?
I like 40s music, so...
You didn't like it?
I liked it.
It is a masterpiece, James. Complete, comprehensive. It captures the African-American experience.
He's out of line, but he's right.
And there's this one particular meme in which he's dancing. I will leave a link to the GIF in the show notes.
Yeah, there's an extended version on YouTube as well that the director cut to fit more things into the episode, but I think they were just messing with him. They were just telling him, "Okay, dance for an hour. We'll get 4 seconds of your dancing. We'll use one part of it."
Yeah, we're just gonna keep all this B-roll just for the funsies.
Yeah, because that's gonna be useful.
I think I'm pretty much on the same boat as you, man. Pros, definitely the action is top notch. Definitely for a superhero movie, not a superhero show. With the budget of a superhero show, but it's Disney, so they probably got all the money to do that stuff.
Oh yeah, they own everything.
Yeah, yeah. The action is great. The hand in hand is really good in this show. So if you're not a fan of, like, let's say, people in the other movies, like, let's say, using magic or using different powers, and you wanted to keep it more grounded, like, just like, I wouldn't go as far as saying martial arts, but it's just like. But definitely just straight up fist fighting. This is a good one. Fights are choreographed pretty well. Also, of course, the subject matters that they bring up. They would take something as fantastical as the blip and have the people being wiped off and then miraculously coming back 5 years later. Something super out of reality, and turn it into a subject of, wait, how would this actually affect people?
Yeah.
The cons, I feel like there were a few too many montages.
You know, like a good montage.
I like a good montage, not 10 of them.
Yeah, it started to feel like Family Guy. Just cut scenes all over the place.
Yeah, particularly towards the end when there's a training montage. I think that one lasted like almost 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Like it felt like it lasted too long. But in the grand scheme of things, these are minor complaints.
Yeah, overall it was a good show. You know, we got to nitpick because
Yeah, they're reviewers online that got that covered.
Yeah, I think we're also just comparing everything to their other series. If we saw that alone, we might think of it in a better way, but I'm just comparing it to the other things they put out for Marvel.
Yeah, and that's actually another good point. If you're a fan of the MCU movies and stuff like that, by the time this episode comes out, you've probably already seen it. But we just wanted to share our thoughts. If you're thinking about watching it and you haven't seen any of the MCU stuff, you can still definitely get into it. You just need to know just background info on like certain stuff, like the stuff we already mentioned. The Captain America stuff and all that jazz. But other than that, you could still very much watch it.
It's not too late, people.
Yeah, we recommend it.
Get your Disney bundle today. $13.99. $13.99 a month. Oh my God, it's so great.
We're still waiting on that Disney money. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to our podcast. Swifty Dialogues was brought to you by your hosts, Rob, Sinda, and myself, Ariel. You can support us by subscribing to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or any other major podcast services. Subscribe to a YouTube channel for exclusive content, such as animated shorts. Find us on Twitter and Instagram with the handle @Swifty Dialogues. If you want to learn more about us, visit our website at swiftydialogues.com. You can also contact us by filling out the form on our website or emailing us at info@swiftydialogues.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next episode.